Hello and welcome to the Tech Lunch Podcast, where we encourage our listeners to learn something new about tech every week. This can range from learning about new and exciting applications to the advancements in coding and technology. If you are always learning, you will always be a step above the rest. Take the time during lunch or during a break to listen and learn, kind of like a lunch and learn, but for the ears. This podcast will open the listeners' ears to new and exciting technologies they may have not been purview to in the past. These topics will range from manufacturing technologies to data collection technologies and everything in between. Hello, I'm Nick.
Hey, I'm John.
And, we don't have Ed tonight, but, it's getting that time of year and, people are doing their end of the year vacations and meeting with families and, whatnot. Mm-hmm. So, first and foremost, I would want to say thank you for getting us over the 1,000 listener hump.
Yep.
We're now, greatly on the other side of that. But, and then, going to get into what we're kind of talking about tonight or today. I think when you think about, operating systems,
yep.
There's a different flavor of them all. There's Windows.
Yeah.
There's Linux. There's Mac OS, which is, part of Linux.
Yeah.
I guess you could say. And then there's a couple others out there. And, Unix, if you think about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of different flavors. There's Android and, iOS and, things like that. And, even if you just stopped at Linux, you'd be thousands deep.
Yeah, you're in a world of fun.
Thousands of different OS images.
Yeah.
For a Linux machine.
So. And it's like, if you think about it, it's, that's where it gets into, the different parts behind it. What are they used for, I think, is the bigger question. As far as some people don't want to use Linux for personal computing, while they'd rather use Windows because they think it's more supported, or Mac because they like the Apple Store, or they have an iPhone and, an iPad, and they want the environment to be the same.
Yeah, we're seeing more and more ever brand, or I guess OS loyalty.
Yeah.
They just stick with what they know because it's, let's face it, humans are creatures of habit. We stick to what we know, and a lot of people don't especially if things get complicated and complex, they don't like stepping out into that, and they would like to stay in what they know, what they've worked with.
Right.
But there's just so many opportunity, so many different types, and you said it best earlier, flavors.
Yeah.
Because, I can think of an immediate instance of I would rather... I need a Linux image, but I would rather maybe a command line for a certain process instead of a GUI image, which I have a desktop. Mm-hmm. Is this PC a workstation? Or am I setting this Raspberry Pi up for my, my nephew who isn't allowed to have the gaming PC, but needs to search the internet for his homework?
Yeah. Right.
So we'll get you an OS image. You'll get the bare bones of a GUI, and honestly, in most of those cases, they use some type of App Store.
Yeah, sometimes they use the the repositories and stuff like that. I know Fedora has their own.
So yeah,
App Store.
It kind of brings you back to how Android started.
Yeah. And
how Android was or is, I guess you can say, which you
that or it's
a
free Windows.
Oh,
yeah. And that's the thing. So,
don't tell Microsoft
I think that, if we're talking about, the flavors of OS here, or flavors of operating system, that's not just what we're talking about, not just going to be for, commercial use. We'll talk about OT use and stuff like that. And we're going to kind of talk about, daily drivers, and stuff like that. But, I think the first hurdle that when you start talking about a flavor of OS, you start having to dig into price.
That's a big part.
I think cost, price is a universal driver.
Yeah. We gotta face it. We live in a capitalist country. So if it makes money, it makes sense. You've probably heard someone complain before about Windows 11.
Yeah. I think you're the only person I know that's running Windows 11. Thank you.
Yeah, no, not anymore.
Oh, you finally rolled back?
I don't want it. I don't want it. I understand that at some point I'm going to be forced to, deal with it.
Yeah, that's what we have to call it at this point.
Deal with it. I mean, some people listening probably would be fine with, going back to Windows 95. Like, why do we need to complicate so many things? But we talk about bloatware, and bloatware gets added to those things. I can't tell you how many times I have to have the conversation. Like, so we work in IT, and that kind of makes you the de facto IT guy for your friends and family.
Yeah,
it just happens.
You're the help
like
desk.
if one of my friends like builds fences and like sets those up for neighborhoods, I'm gonna ask him first. Hey, how should I start if I want to build a fence for my backyard? So it just happens. It's just It comes with the territory.
And God forbid you tell friends and family, hey, do me a favor, look at Google. It's one of those things. It's like you start doing in that realm.
There's a website that says it's like how to Google, so it teaches people how to use Google. And when people ask you questions you can find easily on Google, I just send them that.
Let me Google that for you.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, let me Google that for you. It's like, oh, I don't know. Let me teach you how to do this thing real quick. It's called the internet.
It's like, if you think about it, like you said, price is a very big determining factor.
Yeah.
And the problem is you have, your Windows, your Android PCs now, which is, your Chromebooks.
It's kind of, I was going to say Chromebooks. It's kind of strange. It's like an in-between.
Your Mac OS, your Linux OS, your Unix OS for servers, if people are still using Solaris, which I think they are.
I think there's a lot of people, still using it.
And then, if you're talking about like tablets and whatnot, but that's, totally different, environment. But like netbooks are taking off, into a big, big thing now.
Lots of devices.
If you think about it, 95% of the time when you purchase a laptop, you purchase the OS. It's not, or a desktop, you purchase the OS with it. It comes with it. It's not like they're giving it to you for free. Last time I checked, Microsoft wants to make money. Or Apple wants to make money. The only difference is that MacBook is going to cost you $1,500-$1,600. So you paid $1,500 for what, Mac OS X Lion now? Or something like that at the moment. Or Cheetah, or
I'm not sure what it's called.
Fred. Now. I don't know what the hell the name of it is.
Yeah,
to be honest with you, they change it every every year, so it's you get kind of confused. It's some different animal. But we could probably Google that if we really wanted to.
I was gonna say you could fight both sides, be devil advocate, and say Windows is just doing whatever.
the thing is, if you start talking about price, you have Windows machines that you can get into for a couple $100, if not even less than $100.
Yeah.
And you're into a Windows 10 machine, or now Windows 11.
But
the thing is, even if you have a Windows 10 machine like what I do, it gives you a free upgrade. So you kind of move into the next gen of OSs for free. Rolling back, different story.
It fights you every way.
Yeah.
It's nudging you and when you go back, it's nudging you the entire time.
Yeah, I get updates on mine all the time. It tells me, hey, guess what? It's time to upgrade to Windows 11. I ain't doing that. I'm sorry.
Just give me a try.
But the thing is, it's like, if you think about it,
no,
because it doesn't give you time to roll back or unplug it and start over again.
Yeah.
But it's like if you find old OS CDs, they still work fine. 100%. So if you find the old Windows 95, Windows XP CDs at a garage sale, and you have an old PC, buy it, run it. It's cheap, right? There's no one out there who's going to be selling freaking Windows 95 CD for over maybe $20 max at this point. Actually, they might be, because it's some people's favorite OS. But if you think about it, you're talking about some parts of Windows 7 are still LTS. They're long-term supported.
Yeah.
You can't buy the OS, but you're still getting patches for some things.
Yeah, see, and that was going to be the next question I asked. I was going to pose to you, because in my mind, it makes sense. So let's say we stick to one quote unquote style of OS.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been on our phone. iOS 16 is the big thing. It's like, but it's been going 11, 10, or 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, whatever.
Yep.
But you think about Windows as well. 7, 8, 10. It went through a progression, right? So, in your eyes, what does that progression add? So, yeah, you're on quote unquote Windows still.
Yeah.
But what are you getting out? What are you getting out of it as a user? What are you getting out of it as, if you're a developer or anything like that? How are you going to utilize that? And to be honest with you, this one big topic that's kind of been huge lately is cybersecurity.
Yeah.
So security packages. I mean, you talk about long-term supported. That's a good thing because, like, if Windows 7 devices are long-term supported, they possibly can get some security packages for these ransomware attacks that have been running rampant.
Yep.
So, and those things that, like, these PCs like Windows 95, maybe this is part of the reason why you don't want to get a 95. Yeah. It's more vulnerable.
Well, the thing is, if you think about it, there's some people running DOS for free.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's free, so why not?
But, the thing is, it's like, Windows, on the other hand, like you said, went 7, that we don't even know where 8 went, and then 10.
Yeah, we prefer to forget about 8.
8 was your tablet OS. My mom, I think, has a work computer with Windows 8.1 on it, and I keep telling my uncle who she works for that I want to re-image the darn thing to something else but that. However, she works in the trucking industry, and some things are stuck on Windows. And when you're stuck on Windows, you're stuck on people who don't want to upgrade.
We talked about it. Creatures
of comfort, exactly.
People don't want to change.
But, so, if you think about it, even buying... funny thing about that, I think in the other closet, I actually have a CD of Windows 8.1 because I bought it when we first rolled it out. Because I thought Windows 8.1 was, okay, cool, I'm upgrading from Windows 7, I want to try it. So I bought it. For less than I bought the Windows 8.1 Ultimate. That's like I bought Windows 7 Ultimate out the package.
Yeah.
For $80 when it came out. $90 when it came out. I bought Windows 8.1 from the Naval Exchange, the Ultimate Edition, for less than $70. I think it was when it first came out. It came up in a diskette, a CD about the size of an 8.5 inch floppy.
Yeah.
But the thing is. That show, there's still, even if you have older hardware, you can still find an OS for it inside the Windows family. Yeah. However, then you start getting into the netbooks, the Windows netbooks. Mm-hmm. And they use that, Windows 10 Lite? Or Windows OS Lite? Like, they used to have Windows Mobile, and they don't have Windows Mobile anymore. I
mean, there's a whole bunch of Lite versions of a few of them, but Windows Lite was something that, just like Windows 8, I don't want it.
Yeah. And it's like... and then from there, netbooks again, and we'll talk about uses here in a minute. For their price, you're gonna get a decent OS to get you done what you need to get done.
Yeah, if it's a work laptop, if it's
for traveling, something lighter, sure, that's fine. However, don't depend on it for something heavy. It's also, most of the time, your Windows PCs are going to have a little bit of a price tag to them.
Yep.
Because of the fact that you're dealing with gaming PCs that have different versions of motherboards in them and graphics cards and, and all that stuff. Because people still think that Windows is the ultimate gaming type of OS. Which, to each his own, people think their own thing. I'm not a gamer, so I don't have a dog in the fight. I like using mine for like CAD and stuff like that for the 3D printers and whatnot.
Yeah.
So what you deal with. And Mac is sort of not supported for most things.
For most things. I mean, to be honest with you, I'll say that I don't play. So I do play games, but the biggest thing I think on that side is the ability to not only multitask, but it's like seamlessly run a few things, because I don't even have, but man, our work laptop has more RAM than my gaming PC at home.
Yeah.
So it's got a lot of stuff that goes with it, but like, to be honest with you, man, the OS needs to be rock solid, or you're gonna lock up.
Yep.
You need to have multiple cores on that CPU, and the OS needs to be able to handle that.
A lot of places we see it, they can't.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of it.
And so, that's when you get into the Mac OS X world. Right now now it's not OS X anymore. It's now Mac OS 13 Ventura. I did just Google that.
And they added a whole bunch more of them, more of it.
Since then it's been 10.12, 10.13, so they've named it after different things. So every time you get a minor release, you get a new name. So, which is okay. It's understandable. It's how you do your upgrades. However, Mac OS is a Unix-like system, so it's still inside the Linux family. Mm-hmm. So, but with that, it's not freeware; it's paidware. But it's for certain hardware, which is hardware-specific, OS systems. However, Windows can run on a Mac. Mac OS cannot run on a Windows box. Just happens that way. But unless it's the Mac OS that's ran on There are laptops that have i5, i9s, i7s, i5s on them.
Right.
And then they kind of match to an overpowered Windows machine. However, they're built for very specific operations. You know, Mac OS is great for your guys who are creative, creators, the guys who are doing video editing, the guys who are, in the weeds when it comes down to like what we're doing, that are getting really in there, like sound engineers and stuff like that. Mac is great, for that. They're fully supported. They're great when it comes down to the Adobe stuff. They're, it's amazing, but it comes with a cost attached to it.
Yeah.
You're talking lower end, getting into the Mac OS family outside of the iPad realm. You start getting to the MacBook Lite. I think the Mac Air is roughly here in the US is what, about $900.
Yeah,
something
around
like
that $1,000 mark is where you're going to be looking at it.
But for something that can beat most Windows based netbooks, that you can actually do engineering on and stuff like that. Hey, guess what? You jump right in there, and now they're becoming very robust. Hell, the thing is, if you think about it, the stuff for Mac PCs is now being rolled into their iPads, and their iPads are now about as powerful as the original MacBook was.
Which is
the MacBook
crazy.
Pro.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Do I understand why they sell a monitor for $1,500? No. Do I understand the fact that it's probably one of the better monitors you can get out there? Yes. Their price structure is mind-boggling. I don't understand it. I can't quite figure it out. It doesn't make any sense to me. However, I know somebody's going to give me, well, it's Apple. Yes, I know it's Apple. Thank you. But the thing is I understand that you're going to pay for quality. And the thing is, if you can guarantee me, like they have in the past, that you're paying for the top quality brand out there, and you're paying for something that is very mission critical and mission subset of certain people, like engineers, like audio engineers, like the guys doing film and video, that I can understand paying that cost. Because if you're talking about a 4K, 8K resolution, pay it all day long.
Yeah,
don't look back. You need it. If you're worried about, oh, well, I want to be part of the MacBook club. Okay, be my guest. Have fun. But I'd say if you're going to, jump into any realm of all of this, any OS, have a reason behind it. And we'll get into that one later, I think.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you need to know. So if we go down, break it down to like, okay.
Yeah, we're going to do a rabbit hole on that one.
Choose an OS. Like
yes.
What would you choose in situations? And honestly, when you're going down to that, it does matter what you're trying to do. Right. So I can kind of break that down, and of course 3D printing is going to get brought up. So I can break that down and go to 3D printing. But there's a reason where, so I did an experiment. And so I have an image called Mainsail, or Octopi, rather. Mainsail is also another image, but they're all Linux-based. So I have a Linux-based image that I tried to run, that's set up for the Raspberry Pi 3B+. And I tried to run it on a different, a different MCU, or a different chip. And it absolutely had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
So for me, it even boils down to hardware specifications, because ideally these two machines, or these two computers, like it's an Orange Pi is what the other machine is. They when you get down to brass tacks, they do the same thing.
Yep.
They handle the same things. Now, how the speed, that's where things kind of differ. The CPUs are not identical. They're not made the same way. Of course, elements react different ways when you put them in electricity, all that good stuff, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what did I need to do? I needed to run Mainsail. I needed to run Clipper. Okay, so then figure out a Debian image, which all of those are Debian repositories in Linux. It's like, okay, we'll figure out one that's written for these specs.
Yeah.
And they absolutely have it. They have it. They have much smarter people than us have broke down and wrote down all of these images. So like at the end of the day, like you could probably Google what your use is or what you're trying to do, and someone will have an image already ready for you.
Yeah.
So now we're not saying go around and rip people's images off, but open source, open source images. There was another piece that we kind of talked about. Actually, no, that was it. When we talk about why upgrade my OS. So if I chose Mac, why upgrade? Yeah. If I chose Windows, why upgrade? that's the piece, the hardware piece. So written into like Windows 7, it may not know what to do with the newer graphics cards or the newer CPUs. You hear DDR3, DDR4 RAM, like those don't fit on all motherboards. So that ends up changing, not completely, because it's kind of like bands of technology, but it ends up changing what your OS should be or might need to read. What are your core files?
Yeah.
Because it goes down to that kernel, and it reads all the way down to, when I turn on, what do I do? What applications do I run? Oh, going back to what I was saying earlier, you become the IT guy for all your friends and family. I can't tell you how many times I've had to say, first things first, have you restarted it? Okay, because you've been running your stuff for way too long. I'm not going to say any names. But second thing is what apps start up when you turn on your computer?
Yeah, what can you turn off?
Yeah, what do you have running that doesn't need to be running? Why do you need 3 versions of this thing?
Yeah.
So, like, hopefully one day you'll get some oversight on that, and it'll kind of take care of you with, telling you, hey, you've got this process running 6 times. Let me close 3 of them or 4 of them. Yeah. Or are you sure you want to do that? Because for me, it's a double-edged sword because I have like many images or many versions of my slicer open at the same time because I have multiple printers I'm sending to. Yeah. But I should still be able to see those things, and knowing what your cores are doing and knowing how much they can take. That's why the emergence of like the 4-core, 6-core like hyper-threaded CPUs were so huge.
And the thing is that brings us into the price point of Linux. Yeah. The price point of Linux is free. It's free and open source.
How much time do you have?
Right. How much time do you have to learn it?
Yeah, exactly.
Is the big ticket item. But the thing is with that, it's free and open source for certain things. Some things are not. Some things there is payware behind it if you want more support. If you want a given support package, yeah, you're going to pay for it. However, most of them you don't. I personally, there's the Linux in Linux it's called a distro. So you can go to like distrowatch.com and actually see all of the distros that's ever been made of Linux for whatever variant that you want, Debian, Ubuntu, whatnot. Okay. And you can see all the reviews on it. People have been running this stuff for years, decades. And the thing is, people can, like Arch Linux and stuff like that people want to get into. However, with that, you start understanding that, okay, this stuff's free, but do I want to run it? Do I want it permanently? Well, if you don't, if you want to try it, take a thumb drive, write the OS to it as a live CD, plug it into your laptop, and boot to the disk. And you can play with that OS as long as you have that thumb drive plugged into it. You unplug the thumb drive, you're back to your original OS. Done. It's a trial period. You can do as much as you want with it, for as long as you want with it. You can run your entire PC. I know people who ran their entire PCs on live CD because they didn't like the fact that they can unplug it. Somebody's going to find out what to do. Going to find out it does save it to your local machine.
They will still find out what you do.
However, people do use that to, if you lock a PC out and you can't get back into it, guess what we're going to use? We're using Linux to get in, to reset your password, because we can get into the keys.
Something like a BitLocker, too.
Yep. Yeah. Linux will break into it. Because Linux is open source. It's available. It opens up everything for you to get to. But the thing is Linux is great because it's made by the user for the user. Yeah. And it's the guys who, made this thing, like the Linux Foundation and stuff like that. These guys understand what they're looking at. And, with Linux being free, it's kind of dove into different things. Like you have different, variants like Ubuntu, which is more of your, Windows-based systems like your Arch Linux and stuff like that. But Ubuntu is the main one. And then you start getting into like Fedora, which is sponsored by Red Hat. So you do have some industry standard support behind these things. Yeah. And then with that, you start dealing with, Fedora server or Ubuntu server, headless servers. Yeah. So you start getting in more in the commercial space. It's like with Windows, you have the Windows server, the Windows servers. And then Mac, I think you have the Mac OS X server still, but I think that's discontinued as of last year. 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think. If you're looking at servers or let's say VMs in general, like your
Linux is the best way to go at that point because your hypervisors is all Linux.
I was gonna say, hypervisors are your best bet, and it depends. It's cleanest probably.
Yeah, you also have Hyper-V in Windows.
Yeah, you can.
But however, even with that, you can still have a Linux kernel backend on a Windows machine. On any Windows machine out there, you can set it up, so you can run Linux on a Windows machine. Surprise, surprise. And a couple other things.
Yeah, I think the newest, like one of the newest updates of Windows, even if you're not 11, allows you to do, I think it's WSL, so Windows Subsystem Linux.
Yep.
So
I did that when I configured my laptop.
Yeah. So like it wants you to do it. They want you to try.
They want you to learn it. They want you to get involved in it. You know, it is better than PowerShell. I'll tell you that. Yes. Even though I love my PowerShell.
I mean, we're not trying to delete it, but
right, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
But you know, the thing is go out there and try that. You know, Linux is free. Download a version you want to try, play with it. You know, get to know it. And then we get into the redheaded stepchild of all OS systems. Well, second redheaded stepchild. The oldest one is Unix.
Yeah.
It's a version of
had to start
Linux.
somewhere.
It's a version of Linux, but it was actually, I think it's the great-grandfather of Linux.
It's very similar.
To be honest with you. Which is funny because you start dealing with, like, Solaris. You start dealing with, Mac, for example. Mac is a Unix-based system.
Mm.
So, you know, they use a Unix kernel. Their own Unix kernel, but it's a Unix kernel.
Like
but all Linux uses Unix kernel.
Ah, okay.
So, you know, it's kind of a mixture of them all. But like Solaris 10s and the Solaris 11s and stuff like that, the cloud-based stuff, that stuff that's been around for years and years and years and will never go away.
Yeah.
You know, there's still people using that to this day. You know, most older systems do use Unix, and guess what? It's free. Sun Microsystems came up with it a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So now you can still play with it. So just remember that when you're doing that, enable gedit, and also update your Etsy host file. If you do that, you'll be online within 5 minutes. That's just how it goes. And then we now go to the newest redheaded stepchild of them all. That Chromebook thing.
Okay, I was like, you were gonna say Dockers and things like that.
No. That's how you use this stuff later.
Container. I was gonna
That's
say,
container management.
But no, yeah. I mean,
I don't understand it. And the thing is I also don't understand the cost. You know,
how much is it?
Well, technically it's free.
Okay.
If you can download it.
If you could download.
Right. but the other thing is most of the time it only works on certain hardware, and you're selling a certain hardware for less than $80, but all the way up to $200 to $300 for a version of Android.
Yeah.
You know, that only lets you use like Google Docs.
Yeah.
Like you can even use Word.
Yeah.
I can use Word on a Linux box and on a freaking
actually
on a Mac box.
Yeah.
But unless I'm using like,
it just doesn't know what to do with it.
Right.
It's not written in its. It doesn't know what to. So, the Chromebook.
And it's used in schools now, which I understand because it's cheap. Yeah. It's easy. You can lock everything together, and it's a free domain controller if you use the Google Administrator. If you use Google Administrator, there are administrator accounts and stuff like that they've got. You know, the Google infrastructure, you know, that they came up with. You know, it's great. You know, it's great. But if you just buy it to use it at the house, no.
No thanks.
It makes sense if you're only using it to surf the internet, and occasionally send an email or two.
Yeah.
Fine. If you're doing any heavy lifting with it, not worth it.
If you're running any applications, or you probably can run one application if you can download.
But the thing is, they have to run on the web browser.
Yeah,
because it's a web browser freaking system. So
yeah.
Pretty much it's 100% web browser.
So it's to me, I don't want a Chromebook, but I think that if we gave
I understand
kids
it for schools.
Yeah, I can understand for schools. But the only reason I say that is you got Blackboard and other like websites that have developed for the learning remotely and because of, you know, the pandemic and things like that. I get it. I get it. Hate it. I think that if you spent that money on getting everybody a Raspberry Pi, before the shortage, like if there were $20, $40 each.
Since there's the media, I don't know if you saw the news this morning, or the latest tech news that came out. Raspberry is saying they're releasing 100,000 units at the end of the year for commercial customers, and they're back to having their parts in supply of post pandemic numbers. So by second quarter next year, we should start seeing them back in stores again globally.
Okay, I'll take that. Because it was a struggle right now. I had to pay over $100 just to get one, and I regret that. But I needed to test something.
Yeah.
I go into Micro Centers, and they've been sold out for months.
Yep.
So
I won't pay $100 for mine.
It's good to know that they're going to do that. But the main point of the reason I was like bringing it up, I think if given kids, MacBooks has the monitor and they've got everything you need, so it makes sense. It's a one-stop shop for if you can do that. But like,
and the thing is like
multiple processes, no.
Well, the good thing is most kids aren't doing none of that. When it comes down to, they should, but they don't. But the thing is, like, if we talk about like the Chromebooks and stuff like that, the Chromebooks for teachers are great. Because the teachers can remote in and view everything the kids are doing on all their machines. While they're sitting in the classroom, if they're not working or they're working or whatnot. And they can actually see if this person's actually doing work or not. Make the kids turn in stuff online. But however, to what I've been told by teachers in the field, and some of y'all have heard her on the show, the battery life is just terrible. The hardware sucks.
Yeah, it feels like that cheap plastic, I bet.
Yep. Well, it's not that. It's the internals. They're actually pretty robust machines, and they can take a beating.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. However, the internals are not very good.
I wonder.
Like, we're going an entire school year, but we're already having battery charging issues. We haven't even hit May yet.
Yeah,
we're in December, and we gave them out in August.
I was gonna say the warranties should last more than at least a year too.
Well, so that's your support plan.
They've got, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're selling a product, I can't imagine having to replace a piece of it every single year.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's so cheap they throw them out.
Yeah, okay.
But the thing is, it's like the good thing about this is you have a built-in Active Directory when it comes down to, Google. But you also have a built-in floating account. So, like, if something happens, you go grab another Mac, another PC, and you log into it, and up it comes, and all your stuff's there. So everything's saved to the cloud.
Okay, and that's the benefit of the cloud.
Yeah, but that's also the benefit of those Chromebooks. However, so it's built for something to break. Because you can hop from one machine to another machine to another machine to another machine, and it still works. The good thing is you can lock them down based on geo cords and all that other shit. Which it is what it is. But I know we're kind of we're into the 30-minute range, but whatever.
Oh man, and there's so many OSs we haven't even talked about.
Well, I think we've hit the main categories.
Yeah, if you ask the normal person what an OS is, they can give you probably 3, and that's.
But
those are the main ones.
When you start dealing with other things, you start dealing with your, like uses. I think uses is a pretty big topic. We've kind of covered hardware specification and pricing all in the same pattern because you can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
The use of the OSs is a totally different story. We kind of touched on a little bit of it. But the thing is, if you think about it, most manufacturing environments are going to use Windows. They're using Windows for their shop floors because there's enough programs written on it to secure it that we don't have to worry about it anymore. So on occasion, and then your servers, you're dealing more of a Linux-based, Unix-based life cycle, including, possible virtual machines or Docker images, depending on, how that company is set up, and it's how it goes. Your HMIs, for example, Windows.
I was gonna say, is it Windows or do they have their own type of OS?
It's Windows loaded with a bunch of bloatware.
Yeah, I was gonna, okay.
And it's more bloatware than usual. And it just depends on where you're at, what Windows OS you're using. Most of the time, right now, everybody's using Windows 10. HMIs, or human to machine interfaces, because they work great. Because the thing is about Windows 10 is it's built for touchscreen. And 95% of your OSs out there right now, your Windows 10 OSs, are built for touchscreen enabled devices.
Yep.
That's what everything's coming with these days. Unless you're the token few. My personal laptop does not have a touchscreen on it. Which I'm kind of happy about, because I don't like when people walk into my screen and go, oh, look at this. And, next thing you lost your spot.
Yeah, what's the first thing that breaks on your laptop? The screen.
Yep.
I am number one example right now. I just bought a laptop and the screen's broken.
Very true.
That or the battery, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah,
but
just, pick one problem or another.
Yeah, but if I'd stopped it, you can't stop using the battery. You can stop hitting the screen.
And the thing is that opens up another thing, because there's people out there, some companies out there, that are using the Raspberry Pi OS as an HMI and as a control function inside the shops. Siemens and stuff like that is their own flavor of whatever the heck they use. It's just a CPU, and it just talks back and forth. That's all it does. However, there's companies out there still using Raspberry Pi to control their entire manufacturing operation.
I think that's cool.
And industrial Pis? Heck yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had it touched an industrial Pi, but if they're running it off of just a Pi, I think that's really cool because you need on-site support for that too.
Yeah, and I think that rolling industrial Pis and 3D printers and stuff like that would be freaking cool.
Yes.
So,
especially it's such a high I want to say danger. But I guess that's not the real word. I want to hazard. I guess is better because high temperatures. You've got constant movement. That piece, the tool end, the hot end that's moving is at several hundred degrees Celsius, which I mean, back in the U.S. that's well into the hundreds of Fahrenheit. So you touch that, you're gonna feel that burn.
Yep.
So I don't know. It makes sense to have something that can be robust and withstand. And be a part of that. Put the clipper on it and run your machines. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
and the thing is I think for industrial Pis, the industrial Raspberry Pi image, it's great because the thing is if think about this, working in a world of IT, we deal in a world of break and replace, or break and fix, or break fix IT, at some point in time during the day, depending on who you're dealing with.
Who picked up the phone at help desk?
Right.
I'm just kidding.
But the thing is if you start thinking about it, industrial Raspberry Pis running operations with a Raspberry Pi OS on board or a Linux-based OS, I can have multiple of these things hooked up and just update them all. Then if one breaks, I take it off its rack, bring it outside, hook it up, plug in a couple of plugs, kick it off, back off, and it's back and running again. I'm not even going to troubleshoot it. I'm just going to replace the darn thing.
Yeah, you get into that mindset of me thinking about what I always pictured a data center is this dark building of people that are switching out those little blades like that.
Oh, you mean what Google does?
Yeah, exactly.
And the funny thing is Google runs Linux on everything.
Yeah.
Their PCs they use inside their operations are the Chromebook image, but they run them on bigger laptops, and they're specifically built for them.
Isn't that so ironic?
Yeah.
They've got the machines that are purposefully built so that they can run their own OSs and things like that.
Yeah.
And then they have the OS that's the most laziest, barely can do any processes.
OS out there.
Chromebook.
Just think, now you have Chromebook for business.
Yeah, please don't.
But if you think about it, if you ever watch videos of how they handle their data centers, it's rack and pull, hard drive, systems. So they take a motherboard and slide it into the rack.
Yeah.
Plug it back in a key and send it.
Yeah.
It's back up and running again.
Yeah.
It's like a blade center. Blade centers you pop and replace and you're done.
Yeah.
It's great. And that's when you start dealing with hypervisor. Hypervisors are Linux based. Yeah. Windows based, you start dealing in the world of your Windows servers. But we talked about on the shop floor. All of that talks to it. Down there. But like you said, we're in that mindset. You have to be in that mindset. There is no other mindset actually.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything is going to be more interconnected. We talk about automation and stuff like that. That needs an OS image to run.
Yeah.
You need an image to what is that? The computer needs to know how to talk to its own parts, right? So it needs to know how to in some type of language that this other piece of machinery connected to me reads, like serial connection or something like that. How do I get that information over to them so that they do the thing that we need to do?
Yeah,
and
I understand that.
Yeah, that's coded halfway. Most of that is set up with you setting the OS up, or you're setting the OS up to get out of the way so that you can run this application process over here. Or you're setting up a Windows server so it can do this application. The OS isn't it's just there because it's virtual, right? But that's also a reason why I need a virtual system.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, it's like we were talking about, like you're talking about bloatware. You don't have that as much bloatware, on a Linux-based manufacturing system that you do in others.
It's so much better.
There should be no rhyme nor reason of why when you open up a HMI or even a business-based PC that you see Xbox pop up. It shouldn't be in your menu. That should be removed. The thing is, it's remove the bloatware to save your CPUs. I couldn't tell you how many times I've seen people, they open up all these tabs and they can't get anything done. Because the system itself is running, 1,000 different things
God forbid
inside of its own thing. Yeah, you're using Chrome. It's all in memory.
It's a RAM hog.
But the thing is, it's like, then you look at it, and like Chrome is a very small part of that systems tray. Everything else is run systems. And it's like, oh, look, I've been running my Xbox service for the past 6 months. I don't have an Xbox, nor am I going to use an Xbox on a work PC.
Yeah,
let me delete that real quick.
You got it updating over here for no reason.
Why am I updating, things like I don't need?
Yeah, like why is Skype still trying to install? My understanding, Microsoft moved to Teams, so it's like stuff like that where it's like, why is this still here? Can I delete this? Can I use this space for something else now?
Yeah.
Can I save my CPU some time?
Yeah, let me save some clock speed and stuff like that and go from there.
Yeah, because I'll tell you the difference. Like, I put Linux on a solid state, and before that I had Windows 10 on that solid state. It's pretty quick to open up. It was less than 30 seconds to open, which is not bad. I mean, most people more than a few minutes to turn on the computer. But when I went to Linux, I hit the power button, and it had already gone through the boot up, and it was ready for me to log in when I turned around and looked at my screen.
Yeah, it's like what I'm using for this. When I'm using for the podcast, I'm using a Fedora-based image on a solid state, running an i5.
It's just so much,
an old T570.
Because it doesn't have to do so many extra things. It's just so much quicker.
Yep. You install what you want.
Exactly.
You deinstall what you don't want.
Exactly. And it takes that.
Right. It takes that. Yeah, simplicity, my dear Watson. And the thing is I've used most OSs out there. Windows, Mac, Linux, Unix, dreadfully. I have not had the unfortunate circumstances of having to deal with actually, no, I have. Of a Chromebook. I've looked at them and gave up within the first 30 seconds when I realized that it doesn't mean anything.
You're past that stage.
However, the thing is some people, they make a business off of it, making sure they update those darn things and set them up for schools.
Yeah.
Which I 100% freaking stand behind that. The thing is, if we want to get schools in the 21st century, let's give them technology. Please, let's not give them any more of this. But, use them all. When you start dealing with, the different OSs, they all have bloatware. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
Some, like Linux, you can remove said bloatware.
Yeah.
Windows, you have to fight that damn thing and go find where it's at.
It's definitely a give and take, though, I'd say.
Yeah. And so, but the thing is you get kind of lucky with, Mac when it comes down to bloatware, because it's the bloatware you install.
Yeah.
It's very bare bones when you first get a MacBook PC, Mac PC, but it's your apps. It's stuff that you download and sync from your phones.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything comes in together and everything makes up the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Is what turns into your bloatware.
Yeah, and then you said it before, you need to delete what you don't use, because the applications that you've opened once or only needed a couple times, and that open up and ask for your login every time you turn on your computer, that's still bloatware now.
You mean like Steam?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It wants to constantly update.
Yeah, so which is fine. If that's what you're doing. Like I have Steam on my PC because I want to play the space game that they've got now.
They get a lot of free games.
Kerbal Space. I want to go play Kerbal Space.
Oh, Kerbal Space is fun. Yeah.
Haven't had the opportunity to play that yet.
I got some Kerbal still in space. It's been about 6 years. They'll be alright.
You forgot them there?
Yeah, I'm not. You're past Saturn. I can't get you.
You didn't go on a return on a return directory.
You ran out of fuel years ago.
And it's like, but
I think you're gonna stay there.
And the funny thing is, if you think about it, it's if you look at the the world of spaceflight, for example, in the Dragon capsule, your touch panels, that are in front of them, that's Android.
Yeah.
It's a modified Android device.
Or the thigh.
Those are all iPads that are synced to the Android device up top.
There you go.
Or an Android device synced to the thing up top, depending on what mission they're on. I know that for Inspiration 4 used iPads because they used the iPads to record medical terminology and stuff like that. And while having a keyboard, a knee pad that handled everything else, while the screen's still above their heads, being autonomously flown on occasion, unless Dr. Cyan Proctor took over, were all a Android device, and you're flying a machine from an Android device.
That's so cool. Like you're flying a spaceship, like,
yeah,
or some type of rocket, rover, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. You just started making me think about it. I think
think about the and I know we're going over time, but we're in the. If you think about it, we just got back Orion. Orion just landed.
Yeah, a couple days ago.
Another glorious moment in our return to the moon is the fact that the stuff on board that capsule was Unix, Android, freeware. Yeah. Most of the time, or a version thereof. Or a Windows-based system, depending on what applications they're running.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen exactly their navigational specs from the RIP, but I do know that under the NASA's freeware system that they give you, some of their controller board stuff is all based on Linux.
Yeah,
or an Android APK that they're using. Because it's easier to update, easier to change, easier to modify. If something happens, you can modify it over the air, I guess you could say, literally.
Yeah.
If something was to happen, you can update it over the radio.
It's probably less reaction time for changes too.
And it's like, if you think about it, even your radios are running Linux.
Really?
Yep. Most of them are running a version of Linux. If they have a smart controller on board.
I'm gonna say like sound amplification too, probably. Yeah.
But that's here nor there. But you think about it. Look where we're at with OS systems.
It's everywhere.
But it's the thing is, it's like that. But that goes back to the people. Pick which one's right for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you got something to do and you want, and you're a Mac OS or you're a Mac person who loves to have a one thing, says I've got an iPhone, I've got a MacBook, I've got a iPhone, I've got an iPad, I've got the earbuds. I want a MacBook. Cool, be my guest. It's all going to interchange easily together. I'll give you that. And you have a reason for it? Sure, that's your reason. Be my guest. We got Windows. Or try something new. Go try a Linux box. Go download a Linux OS. Play with it.
Yeah.
It's play the free CD. Learn it. And go from there.
And if you don't like it, you don't have to stay with it.
Right. But, I think, from my side, I just pick what I want and go with it and try what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Have fun with it. That's what
I
I
think
do.
I've tried a whole bunch of them at this point.
But, the thing is, I think that'll do it for today. I think we've hit our major points I think we wanted to hit.
And if people got questions about OSs, they can probably...
Yeah, just leave a comment on the video or something like that someplace else. And we'll be more than happy to ramble your off about it.
You forgot my image. I made this one.
Yeah,
it's
we'll take a look.
We'll talk about it.
We'll play on it. Or we'll even do a video of it on YouTube for you. But, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in, everybody who's, kind of listened in. We're past that 1,000 mark, so, let's keep climbing. Let's aim for 2. Let's keep pushing. And don't forget to go to the Vulcanara Technology Solutions YouTube channel and make a comment on the last podcast we did. If you want to see us take a 3D printer and throw it into a vacuum chamber.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
And we'll buy a small little micro 3D printer and stick it inside of one of the vacuum chambers you can buy on Amazon. And we'll test different filament in it and see what happens.
Yeah.
And the thing is that or it's something bad is going to happen.
I think that's a good idea.
Wouldn't you like to watch how that happens? I sure as hell do.
Yeah.
So, let us know. And the thing is we may use those comments for a giveaway. We don't know yet.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be a good idea, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But, for me, I say thank you. I never thought that, me and Ed would have started this thing year ago, I think last week or something like that, and we're already 1,000, 50 some odd episodes. We got John involved with us now, and we're having fun with it. I was kind of apprehensive to it at the beginning, but I just, I'm glad we're doing it now. So y'all have a good one. Keep learning. Stay involved. I'll turn it over to John for the.
All right, guys. So, of course. Thank you, always greatly appreciated. 1,000 mark is huge milestone. Not the last, definitely. We're definitely going to continue moving, and we need you guys' support in that. And not only that, is we appreciate it, and we want to give you guys value for that. So that's why we kind of want you to kind of give back a little bit, or give us like a direction, and then we can kind of do that. I mean, if you have an idea that's just as crazy as throwing a printer in a vacuum and seeing if it'll work, send it to us. That's fine. I don't mind trying it. It may be impossible, but we could still give it a shot. I mean, I don't know if you were a kid that watched Mythbusters like I was, but I was always curious if anything would work like that. So, getting back to OSs, it's a huge thing that you can do. Being able to get a machine to do whatever you want it to. OS is really the foundation for a lot of the machine, and it tells it what to do. It's got all the drivers and good stuff like that. So I'm thinking that it's something that you need to know at least a little bit about. So yeah, my challenge for the week would be pick an OS you don't know anything about. See what it's for. It's got a reason it was made. I mean, you can go with one of the big times, like if you don't know OS or Mac OS, look at that a little bit. If you don't know Linux, check one out. It's all useful. It's all good information. So, all right, guys, stay tuned for more. Once again, go ahead and comment for that that challenge or possible giveaway, and yeah, stay tuned for the next one.
All right, y'all. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Tech at Lunch podcast, where we hope you learned something about tech during your break or during your lunchtime. If you did, please give us a follow to prevent missing future episodes. If you have any ideas or something you want to hear or learn about, please send us a show idea to podcast@vulcanara.com. Hope you have a good rest of the day and continue learning.